Hey, good morning, everyone. Welcome back, and thanks for hanging out with your SideQuest contact. We're continuing our series on running the game, and today we're going to get into the world of evil. Running a game with player characters who are evil in a game that's designed for evil player characters. Now, this subject requires some thought. It's not like running any other game. Most games, when you get a game together, most of the players want to be, and the dungeon master or game master wants them to be good or neutrally aligned, regardless of what game you're playing, what system you're using. Most games run on a good, neutrally aligned level. And sometimes, though, it's okay to kind of indulge into the evil side and see what that game is like. And those games can be fun. I run a couple of them. Now they have to be handled carefully, and there has to be some rules in place to make sure everyone's having a good time. Because isn't that's the whole goal, right? We come to these games we to enjoy ourselves, to have a good time, and the goal, and again, my measure of success is, did that happen? Did everyone have a good time? Are they coming back for the next session? So that's and to keep that going, evil games have to be handled carefully. So let's talk about that. Now, when we're setting up an evil game, it's very important that all the players know from the beginning that that's what we're doing. This is an evil game. You all are playing evil characters, and we're going to have an evil based story. Now, because if any player is not comfortable with that, that player is not going to have a good time, and that they may show up, right? They may still show up, out of respect, or just, because they're used to showing up, but they're likely to not have a good time. They're likely to be uncomfortable, and that's going to spread, right? That other players are going to pick up on that and things, and it's not going to be as good of a game session as it could be. So make sure they're all aware, make sure they're all comfortable, and they're all on board. And we also need to set clear boundaries on how far we're going to be pushing these moral boundaries. Now, I have two rules in my games, regardless, evil, not evil, whatever. Just all my games have these two rules. One is we don't get graphic when talking about harm to children. There are stories that you find out that children have been harmed. You're investigating, you're dealing with that, but we're not going to have an active scene, or I'm not going to have an active description of a child being harmed. That's just one rule. Not doing it. The other rule is intimacy. Keep that out. Keep intimacy out just completely. DMs, don't put your players in weird, awkward, intimate situations. Players, the same thing. Don't put your DM in weird, awkward, intimate situations. It just makes everyone at the table a little weird, a little uncomfortable, and it's not good for a good game. Also, refrain from, if you're using D&D, refrain from like full chaotic evil. Full chaotic evil is just too unmanageable. There, because chaotic evil is like, Joker, right? It's just, I'm not I don't have a goal. I'm just spreading chaos and strife and mayhem. I don't have a goal to it. That itself is my goal. So you don't want that kind of character in an evil party. So we got these three rules, right? These to getting set up, right? Make sure they are aware. Have some rules on how far we're pushing these moral boundaries. My two rule is harm to, active and descriptive harm to children. We're not doing that, and nothing intimate at all. And keep from chaotic evil, so you can manage the players better. Lawful evil is the best way to go if you're running an evil campaign, and because that gets us into our next topic is keeping these evil players together. Now, the best ways, from my experience, two things or they're kind of the same thing, but to keep evil players together, the best thing and on track is to have them work for the same evil master. They're all part of the same group, the same faction, the same team of agents, the same whatever, but they together are a team working for the same evil master, working toward and pursuing the same evil goal. That way, your players have a motive to stay in together, not just branching out and doing their own crazy evil things. They can't go on a murder spree, for example, because that murder spree draws attention to their evil master, who does not want that attention because they're trying to pursue some goal. Now, it's not because this evil master, mourns the loss of life in a murder spree. No, it's interfering with their plans. And the players, if they interfere with their evil master's plans, could come under some punishment. So keeping the players in line with the same evil master is a good way to keep that going, right? Now, a couple of ways I've done this, and I'll talk about how I made this work and made this successful. The most recent one I've done was a Star Wars like Sith campaign. This was a Star Wars setting back in the day before the Darth Vader and Palpatine, but like thousands of years ago when the Sith were their own empire. Let me find that here. So the Sith were their own empire at a time, thousands of years ago, and of course they constantly warred with the Old Republic. They didn't call them Dark Jedi; they were just called Sith. They used the dark side of the Force for their, and the lightsabers. They were essentially Jedi, but on the dark side of the Force, they didn't call themselves Jedi. So yeah, we have this campaign where we have this Grand Sith Emperor, who's essentially the evil master, and we have a group of player characters who are agents of the Sith and going about and going on missions to advance the Sith agenda. And because the Sith agenda is evil, yeah, the players are engaged in that sort of behavior. Now, another thing with evil characters and evil games, especially with a setting like the Sith, is the Sith encourage treachery and backstabbing, right? So the Sith encourage that. Now, but in a way, like you have to do it slyly, right? You can't just like be open about it. You have to be tricky. You have to be stealthy. And if you're able to, quietly and cleanly assassinate a rival, then and the Sith actually look fondly on that. That shows that you are clever, you are willing to take action, and it also shows your rival was too weak to defend themselves against you. So it was good that you weeded them out. You made the Sith better by removing that weak rival. Now, with a player group, right? They may be thinking the same thing, right? But we don't really want our players like murdering each other, right? So we always want to have it implied that the players are important to the master, right? The master does not want these players turning in and backstabbing each other, not in a grotesque way, right? Maybe one player will keep a secret from another player, or maybe one player will make another deal with a secret deal with an NPC that the other players don't know about. Those types of little schemes are okay, but we don't want our players like actively trying to murder each other, because that's going to delve into a fight of the characters. One of them is likely to die, and then we got bad feelings. So while it's okay to encourage some scheming amongst the player characters, we don't want them openly killing each other. The best way to keep that under check is to for the Grand Master, or the I'm sorry, not the evil master, to make that clear that that's what they want. Don't be murdering each other. I have an agenda, I have a goal, and I need all of you alive to make that goal happen. So Star Wars was really good. Sith, working with the Sith. Another game I want to run is I've actually done a lot of writing on it, and one day I'll get to it. But it's a Star Wars game where the players are agents of Emperor Palpatine. They are out on a mission. They're out doing their thing, pushing the evil Emperor's agenda. When they get a disturbance in the Force that Palpatine has died, the Death Star has exploded, the rebellion has beat the Empire in the Battle of Endor. So now the players are out in the field on their mission when they get the sense that their master is gone. So that would be interesting. That does kind of contradict what I just said about having an evil master in place, but it kind of I still think it's an interesting idea, because now they're like, what do we do, right? you know, because obviously the rebels, I guess they're no longer rebels if they've taken over, but the New Republic is going to be looking for any your lingering traces of imperial influence, agents and such to deal with those. So now they're kind of lost. They're kind of out there in the galaxy, deciding what are we going to do. So Star Wars could be a good option. Another good thing, and this was inspired by me going through the, excuse me, listening through the Drizzt series in audiobook form, and it really dives into Drow society, Drow elf society, and yeah, yeah, thoroughly evil. Now, with the new additions, and I actually agree with this, and I'm okay with this. They've kind of made it so not all Drow are so universally evil, and I'm glad for that, right? I think it's bad form to say all members of a specific race are just inherently evil, and I don't like that thinking. So but for an evil game, yeah, we do want to deal with evil drow, right? And evil drow society is definitely set up around the women, right? It's a matriarchal society. The head is a woman. The strongest males are still subservient to the weakest females, right? Even like a female servant outranks like a high-ranking male wizard. So it's that imbalance regarding their power structure. And with the Drizzt series, it was full of each, playing out evil characters with only maybe one or two good characters in there, Drizzt included. And Drizzt decided he didn't like this society. He didn't like the constant cruelty and evil and just non-stop treachery that comes along with society. So he eventually fled. So working a drow game could be interesting, right? And this is something I've also thought about doing, right? How could I set up a drow-based game where the majority of the players are drow? They may have a couple players who are non-drow, but those players would still be kind of like allied races to the drow, and they're out and engaged in some, pushing the agenda for the drow. Let's see what else we got. What other ideas did I put up here? Vampire. Vampire's easy to go evil with, right? Because we got a whole faction called the Sabbat who are dedicated to chaos and destruction. They like to they're very their embrace habits are much more violent than those of the vampire, the Camarilla. It's not like a sweet situation, where you and a nice vampire getting along, and you go on a date and they embrace you. Know this is a we murder you, drain your blood, feed you our blood, bury you in the ground, and if you claw your way out, then you're accepted. If you don't claw your way out, well, you're an everlasting being now, so you're stuck underground forever, slowly going mad. And then if you ever too were be pulled out of that hole, yeah, you would just be an insane, starving vampire. That's not what a player would be. Obviously, we would assume the players would crawl their way out of the hole and join a Sabbat pack. Now, with the Sabbat, this is a good area. Here, you do have a good authority to keep your evil players under control. There should be a pack priest, right? The pack priest kind of guides the pack on what we're doing tonight, what's going on. The priest answers to a bishop or an archbishop, who then who kind of directs the agenda of the Sabbat vampires under their control. And a lot of that involves going into a city led by the opposing faction called the Camarilla. They go into one of their cities. They kind of hide out. They spy. They do recon. They cause mayhem where they can. And then meanwhile, the Camarilla vampires are that city are freaking out. Oh no, the Sabbat are here, and they're probably on an active hunt looking for those Sabbat vampires. So that could be an interesting game, right? A Sabbat pack going into a Camarilla city to, on a mission. Now, the Sabbat are also like the Sith in that and the Drow even. That's one theme with all these evil types of stories is the theme that Infighting and treachery is encouraged and allowed. In fact, it's approved of because it weeds out the weak. If you're able to backstab and betray someone, it just shows that the one you betrayed, was too weak, too stupid, too whatever, to defend themselves from you, and therefore you did the faction a favor by weeding out that weak element. So again, we also want to keep our players not, they can scheme against each other, but we don't want them actively like attacking and murdering each other. Now with the Sabbat pack, it's a little different, right? They actually go through a ritual that makes them somewhat loyal to the other pack. It's kind of like a blood bond. It's called the Valdery, and it's a ritual where they drink each other's blood in a chalice, and that links them in some kind of magical bond of loyalty to each other. So they don't really go out of their way too much to backstab, but it's kind of like, it varied. Like pack member one and pack member two, pack member one could feel love for pack member two, but pack member two winds up feeling just only, casual like for the other. It varies like that every time they do the ritual. So that could be another good evil game. Alien, lots of potential here, right? Corrupt members of Weyland Yutani, looking for xenomorphs, willing to sacrifice, untold numbers of colonists to find and capture a live xenomorph specimen. And then what happens when the xenomorph breaks out, and then like now the agents have to deal with that. So there could be, and our overall evil master here is the company, Weyland Yutani, and that's their agenda, right? That's all the alien movies. That seems to be what they're doing, is trying to get a hold of a live alien, a xenomorph specimen. And I think in what was it, Resurrection? Yeah, they did. They got a whole lab full of xenomorphs, and that went badly for everyone because that's what happens when you play with monsters. You want to get crazy in sci-fi? You can go with some a Decepticon strike force in Transformers. The first Decepticons to land on Earth, scouting it out, checking it out, or any other planet you want to come up with. It's highly set. The book and the story is highly set on Earth, but you can do whatever you want with it. Going in, let's the initial strike force goes in, studies Earth's capabilities. Maybe there's also an Autobot in there now, and you've been discovered, and the Autobot is there, and both of you are trying to conceal your presence from the humans. There could be some good battle stories here. So yeah, there's a lot of material out here if you want to go into kind of exploring the darker side of evil characters. A second here. Now, just keep in mind though, right? It's not something that happens naturally. The natural flow of role playing, and again, from my opinion, from my experience, the natural flow of role playing games is the players are neutral based, good or neutral based in alignment. So to set something up that's not that natural flow, definitely have to have these guardrails in place. Make sure they know. Make sure we have some boundaries. Have a master that kind of keeps a hold of them to keep them in check. And there's a lot of good potential out there for story. All right. Well, I think our time is good now. So appreciate you hanging out with me again as we talked about going evil, getting into an evil game. And I hope you enjoy the rest of your game. I'm going to be thinking of more topics now. I've kind of went through all my notes because when I started this running the game series, I just kind of jotted down a whole bunch of notes of things I wanted to talk about, and I've kind of gone through all of those. So I'm going to come up with some more stuff. If you have any ideas, if you want to leave a comment, and I'll take a look at those, and we'll explore those as well. Well, yeah, thanks again for hanging out. I'll see y'all next time. Take care.